So good morning, friends. As of now, we are talking about Hadoop and Developer Spark training course, and so far we have seen HDFS, MapReduce, and then we have seen Scoop extensively. Now we are talking about Hive in detail. So far I have covered Hive architecture and the concepts behind Hive. Today we will be looking into most of the important stuff. So please remember that this is not SQL training. So you are supposed to come with some SQL background to understand immediately. If not, you have to refresh your SQL skills and then come back to this. Okay. So Hive means Hive have three components as I have explained earlier. The first one is creating the databases, creating the tables. Second one is uh, loading the data or inserting the data into tables. And third one is querying the data using SQL. So I will cover all the I will try to cover all the three aspects today. If anything remains, we will see as part of the next class. So the best way to start with Hive is to go to the Hive documentation. So always you have to check for Hive user guides. If it is Scoop, it's Scoop user guide. If it is Hive, it should be Hive user guide. If it is Pig, it should be Pig user guide. You should not search for developer guide. Developer guides are for those who want to fork the source code of Hive or Scoop or Pig and then customize for their needs. We are not developers of Hive, but we are the users of Hive as part of our development effort for the projects at the client. So you always have to search for user guides of the respective tool to start exploring the any technology, especially in the big data ecosystem. So you can go to this one. They maintain in Wiki. So they run Wiki server in the background, and then they actually they use Confluence, not Wiki. Confluence is one of is a content open source content management tool, and they use that to publish all the material related to the particular topic. Okay. So now, if you see here, you can go to getting started and try to understand what it is all about. But directly we'll go to Hive SQL language manual. Okay. So in the Hive SQL language manual, first thing we will start is DDL statements. So if you look into this, the way they have organized is commands and CLIs. I have covered Hive CLI. I have not covered the Beeline CLI, which is relatively new, but it is very easy to understand if you click on this. And then file formats. So there are Hive supports multiple file formats out of the box: Avro files, ORC files, Parquet, etc. So ORC and Parquet are columnar file formats, and it's industry standard data warehousing or massively parallel processing or MPP frameworks uses these columnar formats such as ORC file and Parquet. So if you want to understand more about the file formats which we will be using while creating the tables, you have to explore these things. And then compression will be covered later. Don't worry about compression at this time. And if you want to understand what are the data types that are supported, you can click on this, and these are the data types. When Hive started, they have very few data types. They have integral types such as tiny int, small int, big int, and then there is only string data type for char, varchar, and everything else. Anything that is alphanumeric, there are only string data types. String data type. There was no varchar or char. In the recent versions, they have introduced these char and varchar, and I will explain that reason when we actually demonstrate. And then timestamps, dates, these are also relatively new to the Hive. Earlier, timestamps and dates used to be stored in string itself. So there used to be only integral types, string, and then decimals. Only these three types used to be there. Now they have added more data types. Okay, so handling of null values is another important thing which we will see while creating the tables whenever it is relevant. Okay, but these are the data types which you need to understand before creating the table. Okay, and now data definition languages. So DDL statements, if you click, the first thing you need to focus is create database command, and you need to understand what happens when you actually run the create database command. So for that I am actually getting into CloudX lab. Is it only muted to Mohan or anyone else? I think everyone else is able to hear me. Can you guys hear me? Hello? Yeah, it is only with you, Mohan. Probably your internet connection, it is only. Okay, so let's proceed further. So I'm connecting to lab. So to launch Hive, we use Hive command and hit enter. Okay, now so to create the database, you have to use the command create database command. Before doing that, you have to run this command called set hive metadata warehouse directory. I think hive warehouse directory. Okay, whenever you are not sure about the actual parameter, always I will recommend to run this command -e set grep warehouse. Okay, that will give the runtime parameters. Even if there was change between the versions, you will get it for sure. Instead of googling it, this will be the effective way of getting the actual values of the parameters. And the relevance of this very important parameter I will explain very quickly. So it is hive metastore warehouse. Sorry, I typed metadata, that's why it didn't work. Okay, so now if I go to hive, okay, now we can run this command set this parameter, and you can see the parameter value is apps hive warehouse. Okay, so if it is Cloudera cluster, it could be /user/hive/warehouse. So depending upon the distribution, the default value changes. But in Apache Hadoop or Apache Hive, which is the open source Hive, in that hive metastore warehouse directory is by default /user hive warehouse. And if someone want to override, they have to make the changes to configuration file called hivesite.xml. So you don't need to worry much about it as a developer. As long as you know this parameter and you know how to get the actual warehouse directory, that is good enough. Okay. And now you can use DFS. DFS is similar to Hadoop FS. So earlier, to interact with file system in Hadoop, we used to use Hadoop space FS in the command line. Okay, so DFS is an alias for Hadoop FS in Hive command line. So DFS -ls. So if you have to run this command outside Hive in the terminal, you have to write Hadoop space fs space -ls. Here you just say dfs -ls apps Hive warehouse. Okay, so if you type this in CloudX Lab, you will see many directories with the .db extension. Each directory with .db extension is nothing but a database. So when we create a database, let's say DGADARAJU, it's my database name, and hit enter, it will create the database. Okay, again I explained as part of the next class, or I think last class as well. You can say if not exists and then give the database name. So if you does not use if not exists, if the database already exists, it will throw error. And in Hive, it is quite normal to create as many databases as you want while performing the data integration into Hive. You will create many databases in the life cycle, and sometimes you don't need to delete them. But your script might have to run create database command if it does not exist. So in that context, this command is important or relevant. If you are not sure whether the database does not exist, but still if you want to create the database as part of the frame tool you develop, it's better to use if not exists in some cases. Okay, now the database is created. That is right. Mohan have asked a question if Hive database is similar to schema in Oracle. That is correct. So Hive inherits MySQL behavior than Oracle behavior because MySQL is open source. So even in MySQL that is the case. But in Hive there is no users concept. There are only databases. So it's not exactly schema. When you talk about Oracle schema, you have table space, and then you have the users who will have the username with that schema name, who will have complete permissions on the table spaces and database files. So it's not exactly like schema, but yeah, you can actually think like that. Okay, now the database is created. Now if I run dfs-ls apps warehouse and then give dgadi star and semicolon to end the command, what happened? Let me see. Okay, actually the database exists, but there is nothing in there. That's why it is showing empty. The best way is to run from the command line using, the better way is, let me open another window. So to check whether your directory is created or not, the better way is use Hadoop FS-ls from outside Hive, because we can pipe the output and apply the grep command on it. So our Hive warehouse directory is apps Hive warehouse. Okay, grep -i dgADARAJU. So you can see that there is a directory with .db extension. So this even though we run command create database, here it is nothing but a directory in HDFS. Okay, so database in Hive is nothing but a directory in HDFS. So whatever you try to create in Hive, typically means in this database as a table, typically will go to this location. But there is a concept of external table which we will see later, where you can define the location you want. As long as you have permission, the table can be created in the location that have specified when you try to create external table or even managed table. If you do not specify location in the managed table, this is the default location the tables will be created. Okay, now quickly we will create a few tables. For that, you can go to my GitHub account. Before that, you have to run this command use dgADARAJU to switch the database. Now you are in the database, which means the directory in HDFS, and show tables, and there is nothing here. Now we will create the tables. So as of now, you can go to the GitHub account and get the code, because I have not completed this course in website yet, but I will be bringing this into website very soon. So here either you can use Cloudera or HDP. HDP is for Hortonworks, to get the DDLs, and if you go to Hive, there is a directory called Hive DDL. Okay, and then you have you can create the tables. So instead of using deck of cards, we will try to create tables for our MySQL tables. So here you need to understand how you have to translate the data types from the MySQL tables into Hive. Okay, so first for that, let's log into the MySQL. So this is the exercise you need to do even when you are actually developing the data integration framework by creating tables in Hive. You should not be extracting one table at a time from MySQL and then make the changes and then create tables into Hive. You have to come up with a tool wherein it takes the table name from the MySQL, apply the rules, and then create the table, create the script to which can create the Hive tables, and use that script to create the tables. Then only the project will be faster. Otherwise, if you start creating tables one at a time by copying, it will take enormous amount of time just to create the tables, and there will be a lot of pressure from the management. Okay. Anyway, here I am connecting to MySQL. Username is retail_DBA, and host name is, we can go to the CloudX lab. So you have to come out of this tools attitude, means going forward tools are not that relevant. There are no standard data modeling tools which you typically see in relational databases or even for data warehouses. Now people are not that keen on tools. You have to do the exercise, you have to understand how it should be done, and it's better to develop by yourself, and it does not take a very long time if you are a good developer to translate your source tables into Hive. So people are very reluctant to spend money on these tools, which does not much value. Even with Erwin, if you think about it, creating the data model even after connecting to the database and fetching the data is quite tedious. It's not that straightforward, and people are not willing to spend their valuable resources on such kind of stuff. Okay, so now let me go to MySQL credentials. -p, ITversity is the password, use retail_DB and show tables. So there are these many tables, and I will show products as the example because I think it is the one which have most of the columns. There are 6 columns, and you can see product ID is int of 11, product category ID is int of 11, product name is varchar of 45, product description is varchar of 255, product price is float, product image is varchar of 255. So we need to use this information to create the table in Hive. So typically when we try to create the tables from this, basing upon some source tables, we try to use the same data types and precisions if it is applicable, and try to create the table. However, first thing you need to remember is in Hive there is no concept of primary keys or foreign keys, and also there is a concept of indexes, but it is not very important. Indexes are not managed by themselves, and lot of people does not use indexes in Hive. Okay, they are not very robust. So now using this table and column names, if we have to convert, int of 11 has to be converted to int. Probably int of 11 might work, but internally it will be stored as int itself. Earlier we can specify only with as int. We were not able to define the precision. So Mohan was asking the question about index. Yes, typically indexes are not used in Hive. Okay, the precision, even though you specify the precision, internally it is not enforced. It is only for your information purposes. Okay, so now let's try creating this table. I am using Sublime Text. Okay, now we have to just say so there is space here. Comma. So let's try this. Now we have got all the column names, and then create table products. Okay. So earlier we have to change all these things to int, string, float, and string. Now they are actually supporting varchar, int, all those things, but the schema is not strictly enforced. Most of these things are for informational purposes only. So yeah, we cannot actually still use the precision for integer. So I am removing this thing, then it will work. What is the issue? Okay, here it has to have the bracket. Now if you see, table is created. Okay, so where it is created, that I will explain. For that, first you need to use this very important command, describe formatted. If you just say describe and hit enter, it will just give the column names and data types. I always use describe formatted unless as part of the program or as part of the tool which I want to develop, I just need the column names to pass. I typically use describe formatted whenever I want to see the information on the metadata. So whatever you are seeing is called as metadata, and this metadata will be stored in RDBMS as I have explained earlier. It started with column names, data types, and if there are comments of the columns, you can see the columns here. And then location is the next very important attribute which you need to see. So this is the location where the table is created. Okay. So again, this is nothing but a directory in HDFS. We will see that. I am exiting from this MySQL and removing these products and query, trying to get the details about try to get the details at my database level. Here I have to say Hadoop fs -ls, paste this one and remove the table name. So you can see there is a directory under this location, dgazraju.db, with the table name products as the directory name. So again, a table in Hive is nothing but a directory in HDFS, and all the files under that directory is considered to be the data for the table. Okay. So by default, the location is our database directory created for our database earlier when we created the database. Okay, now the next important thing is this input format and output format. So by default, input format and output format are are determined by the file formats. So if you go back to the syntax, now let's go back to the syntax in the manual and scroll down here. After databases, you will see this very important section for create table. So this is, you should be able to understand how this information can be interpreted while creating the tables. So what we have done earlier, we have used create. It will select everything even if I try to select one word. I don't know why. Let me do this. Let me copy into some, yeah, now it is fine. Create table, and then either if you want, you can prefix the table with the database name and give the table name, and we have specified all the column names with the data types. And then there are other attributes such as table comment, partitioned by, clustered by, skewed by, which we will see up to some extent as part of the class. We will not be covering all these details at this time. We will be covering, I mean, you have to follow my videos to understand most of these things. Even in my videos, I did cover this skewed by, clustered by, etc. Significantly. So you have to explore certain things if on demand if it is required. Okay, and then location we have specified. Location is generated automatically. Before location, you have this row format and stored as. So after create table command, after defining the columns and saying whether the table has to be partitioned or clustered, etc., the first command you need to give is means the first attribute you need to give is row format. Row format, the way you have to interpret this is all the things that are in caps are the keywords, and that are in small characters are clauses. So there will be a row underscore format clause, and for that actual details will be given somewhere else, typically below. So here for row format, after row format, it starts with this one, delimited, fields terminated by. So if you want to delimit your data applying the structure on the table, you have to use this fields terminated by, lines terminated by, to tell what is the delimiter between the rows and how the nulls are defined. All these things are taken care by this delimited. And then another important one is file format. So if you go here, the delimiters are defaults here. That's why it is not showing the details about the delimiters. But this information, input format, output format, is also determined by the stored as clause, or file format clause of stored as command. Stored as command which we'll use while creating the tables. And for that, you can apply sequence file, text file, RC file, ORC, Parquet, Avro, whatever it is, and also you can specify the custom input format also. So all these things are supported in Hive. So the same command, if you want to understand how it uses internally, you can, especially for the stored as, you can say it is like this, stored as text file. So based on the file format you have specified and the stored as, it will try to compute input format and output format. So the default delimiter in Hive is, I think, null character. So if you specify what is the syntax? Row format, delimited fields terminated by a null character. It will actually translate into similar to the defaults of Hive. Okay, so this is the you should be able to understand this information. This is called as metadata, and this metadata will be stored in MySQL database so that we understand how the table is structured after creating the table. Now quickly we will create all the 6 tables from this file. So we have categories, and here you can see that I am using delimiter as pipe. Okay, so here I am dropping this table products, creating the table categories, creating the table customers, okay, creating the table departments, and creating the table orders using partition by clause. So when you actually want to partition, this is how you specify partitioned by the column name and the data type. And when it comes to Hive, there are only two types of partitions. One is partitioning and another one is bucketing. So in case of traditional RDBMSs like Oracle, you see hash partitioning, range partitioning, list partitioning, and you can nest those things. And in recent versions of database, you have many other types of partitioning strategies. Whereas in Hive, there is only partitioning and bucketing. Partitioning is similar to list partitioning in RDBMS, and bucketing is similar to hash partitioning. List partitioning, we have to specify the values for each of the partition while loading the data. That you will understand when I actually add the partitions later and load the data later. For now, just understand that to create a table with a list partitioning, you just have to say partitioned by the column name and the data type using which you want to partition. And this column which is used in partition by should not be present as part of this section where the other columns are defined. Okay, so now let me create this one. Order items is also partition table. If you want to use bucketing, you can use this one, but I'm not running it here. Bucketing is similar to hash partitioning, and the syntax it uses clustered by and then into whatever number of buckets you want to divide. And in case of clustered by, you have to tell the column which is defined as part of the create table command as part of the clustered by clause. Whereas in partition by, you have to give a different name, or the column which is defined in partition by clause should not be there as part of the column list. Whereas in case of bucketing, you have to use this logic of clustered by into blah blah blah, and the column has to be present in the column list above where all the rest of the columns are defined. And then products. So now we have created all the 6 tables similar to our MySQL, and now we have to get data into these tables. Okay. Again, here I am going a little bit fast paced. I am not covering all the important aspects of partitioning and all those things. If you want to understand, you have to go to my videos and you have to watch, but I am trying to lay the foundation, and also you will be able to face the interviews or questions with confidence, and you will be able to build it using this information by quickly navigating through the documentation. Hence, I am not actually getting into too many details about Hive here. Okay. So we have created all the 6 tables, and now we have to load the data. So we already ran the scoop import earlier, and this is the location where I have ran the scoop import. User training 8634 scoop import. I hope I have already ran it. Yes, there are tables here. Let me confirm. Sorry, there is data for tables here. Okay, and it looks good. There is data, and let me confirm the delimiters by reading the data. I have to do the cat command here. I will explain why I am doing this once I validate the data, and this is very, very important. You have to listen to this. So here you can see the delimiter is comma. Okay, when we actually use the scoop command, we used comma as the delimiter, and if you see here, the delimiters are pipe. So if I try to load this data, which is already in HDFS, into the Hive tables. In Hive, the delimiter is pipe, and in Scoop, means the data which is imported through Scoop, the delimiter is comma. The data will be loaded, so I can just run a command called load command, and data will be loaded, but you will not be able to read the data properly because the delimiters are different. Here you need to understand a very important concept called schema on write versus schema on read. So when it comes to traditional RDBMSs, when we specify or when we define table with create table command with columns, data types, and all those things, whenever you try to insert or update a record into a table, it will try to apply the schema which you have defined on the data that is being inserted or updated. So for example, if you say when you create table in MySQL or Oracle, if you say the data type for department ID is integer, and if you try to use anything else other than integer, it will complain saying that there is a data type mismatch. Okay, so that is what is called a schema on write. So whenever you actually try to insert data into a table, it will perform those checks whether your schema and the operations you are trying to operations you are trying to perform on the table match or not. If it does not match, it will complain. So if you think from the perspective of the execution, whenever those operations happen, internally the software of Oracle or MySQL database will be executed for each and every operation to perform these checks. So it is fine when we try to insert a few records or few hundreds of records, but when we try to load terabytes and petabytes of data, the load time will be abnormally high if these checks have to be happened for each and every record. So when it comes to Hive, when we try to load the data into Hive tables, it does not perform any checks. So you need to ensure that whatever data you are trying to load into the Hive tables match the schema. Otherwise, when you try to read the data, it will try to apply the schema, and if the data is inconsistent with your schema, then you will start seeing incorrect or inconsistent results. Still, it will not error out, but you will see inconsistent or incorrect results. I will demonstrate. So here we already have the table departments, and we will try to copy this data from this location. So the way you can do is, here we are trying to load the data from HDFS location. So load data in path and then paste the directory location from where we want to copy the data. So here if you see, we are saying load data in path. Okay, if you want, because we are trying to copy the data from HDFS, if you want to copy the data from local file system in the sense the files which are here. So if I want to copy these files like hiveoutput.txt or anything under this location, it's called as local files on this machine. And when you try to perform loads using that data, you have to say load data local in path. Okay, but if you don't say local here between data and in path, it is considered that you are trying to copy from one HDFS location into this Hive table. And then you can say into table, we have to give the table name. Our table name is departments, and hit enter. So now you can see that all the files are copied to this location. That we can validate by running Hadoop fs-ls command. If you see, this location, earlier when we queried departments in this location or products in this location, we saw there is nothing. But now we can see all the files that used to be there in the original location are moved to here. So when you try to copy data from HDFS location into Hive table using load command, data will be moved, not just copied. So if you try to query the original location, now you will not see the data. data here, it will be empty. Actually, it has moved the directory itself, so there is no directory called departments here anymore. Okay, so now the files are copied here, and the directory from where the data is being copied is deleted. That's the behavior of the load data in path command. So when it comes to load data local in path, it does not delete in the local files. Only in case of load command for HDFS location into Hive table, the data will be deleted from the source. Okay, so now let's query this table, and if you look into this the structure of the table, describe formatted departments. Okay, you can see the delimiter is pipe, the files are of type text file, and this is the location. We have validated that thing. Again, the data has to match with the file format also. Now the file format is text file, we only should copy the text files. If you try to copy sequence files or Avro files or anything here using load command, the files will be copied. But when you try to query the results, you will see incorrect or inconsistent results. Now if I run select star from departments, we see all null values here, because the structure is completely different from what you are trying to read. The data is comma separated there, so it will treat the entire record as the first column itself. And for in our departments table, the first column is of type int, whereas the data have alphanumeric values, because it will treat each and every record itself is, let me show you here. So if you try to cat this location, okay, let me see. Hadoop fs -cat. We have data here. If you see, the data is comma separated here, because there is no pipe anywhere here. It will treat each and every record as the one column only. So it will only think that there is only one column in one value, or data for only one column for each of the record. Okay, and the data type, if the data type of this and the data type we have defined on the table name matches, then you will see 2 commas fitness, 3 comma footwear, 4 comma apparel, something like that when you try to query the data. Okay, I can demonstrate that real quick. I will create another table, create table departments. So yeah, there is another trick which I want to explain. You can say show create table departments. If you run this command show create table departments, it will actually give the syntax which it internally uses to create the table. Okay, so here we will copy this one, and we will replace the departments table as another departments another. Okay, that's the only, and also location we can specify even for the manner. Even for the manage table, we can actually specify the location. Okay, so here we are directly specifying the location, and then we will try to run this command. I want to make another thing here. I want to define it as string. Drop table departments another. Now I want to use this command. Now again I can say load data in path. I want to copy from this location into table departments another. So you have to be careful. Sorry, I have to give that table name. You have to be careful when you try to run this command. Okay, the reason is whatever you have specified here, it will try to delete. That means you will lose the directory which is created for table departments. So instead of using departments directory directly, you can give the patterns for your file names which you want to copy. Then only the files will be moved. The directory will be intact. It will not delete the directory. But if you give the directory name, it will delete the directory. That's what happened earlier, right? Now, if I run select star from departments another and hit enter, you can see it is showing two columns in each of the record, but the first one is 2 comma fitness and second one is null, which is not correct. Okay, so this is the behavior of not having the table structure defined and the data structure consistent. In this case they are different, that's why we are seeing this issue. Okay, so here we have to change the delimiter from comma to pipe, and then we should load the data into these tables to query them properly. Okay, so now you can actually run the scoop command to load data into these tables using Hive import with pipes directly, or you can fix the data. I will take the second route to fix the data. So for that, what I am trying to do is I am actually creating a directory called db here, cd db, and Hadoop fs -get this one, apps hive warehouse. So Hadoop fs -get command is to copy data from HDFS into the local location. So it will copy all the, sorry, I should not copy this one. What I have to do is rm -rf. I have to actually do Hadoop fs -get user training 8634 scoop import dot. Now I am trying to copy the scoop import, not the Hive database, because in Hive database apart from departments table there is no data at all. Okay, now I can go to this location, cd scoop import, and run perl -p -i -e command. Yes, I want to replace comma with, comma is a special character, that's why we have to say that, and then I want to replace it with pipe. Okay, and then /g because I want to replace them globally, and I want to replace for all the tables. Okay, and all the files in those tables, and now we can go to scoop in any of these tables or the departments here. Departments is deleted. Oh yeah, there are no files here, that's fine. Categories ls-ltr, so we can see the data here, view, okay. Now you can see that data is replaced to pipe from comma. Okay, that the same thing I need to do for the departments also. So let me do that. Hadoop fs -get. Okay, so these are the tricks which you need to understand, then only you will be able to execute the projects in a timely manner. Okay, if you don't know these things, then it will be very tough. Departments another. Hive or Scoop is just 10 to 15% of the overall project. Rest of the stuff is this only. Okay, it actually copied the directory directly here. I want to copy all the files into this location and rm-rf departments another. Okay, now we have the files and let us run the Perl command again. Okay, now you have the data properly. So as we have the data in local file system, we can use, okay, everything looks good. Now we can use Hive. I will use in this window. Now I am connecting to Hive. I have to connect to the database. Our database we are trying to use here is D Gadiraju. So use the database name. And then get these locations for each of the tables. So this is the location for each of the table. And now we can use load data local in path, give the local directory location. For departments it is departments, okay, into table departments. So if you are not in the database already, or if you are not sure whether you are in the database or not, you can give the prefix of the database also here. You can run it like this and hit enter. Now the data is copied from local file system to into HDFS. Now we have to do this for all the tables. Categories. Etc. So I will not be showing for all the tables. You can take care of it. If it is required afterwards, I will do that. Now we will go to the some important aspect of the partitioning. I have shown you how to load data into typical tables using local as well as non-local using the load command. And now we will see the partition tables. We already have the partition tables, orders and order items. And if you have to store the data into this table, the source data has only 4 columns. Okay, whereas the target table, source table in the MySQL have only 4 columns in orders, whereas the target table in HDFS, we are actually using all the 4 columns, and then we are actually trying to create a column on name order underscore month. Okay, so the structure is a little bit different. So we cannot directly load the data using load command like this. This is where the insert command comes into picture. But to run the insert command, first you need to create a staging table in HDFS. Okay. So what we will do is, for the orders table, first we will create a stage table. Okay, and the stage table will have everything except the partition by clause. Okay. Here we will not delete the partition by clause. Rest of the stuff is same. Let's name it as order stage and create this table. Okay, and similar is the case with order items also. We want to create a stage table for order items here, because these two are partitioned and we cannot directly use the load command to load into these tables. So here I am using this command to create stage table for order items and hit enter. Now we have both the stage tables. We can use load command itself to load into these tables, to load into the stage tables, not the final tables. If you try to load into final tables, as the structures are different, again the results will be incorrect. Even though the loads command might be successful, but the results will be incorrect. So orders is loaded. Here we have to say orders underscore. It's complaining because there is partitioning clause in the table, so it's doing minimal checks. It's complaining. So anyway, we have to load into the stage table, not the actual table. Now the data is loaded into the stage table. Similarly, we have to load into order items stage from local file system order items directory. So orders order underscore items. Okay, now we have data in the stage tables, and we want to use this data to load into our partition table, which is orders and order items. Both are partition tables. So in this case, we have to use insert command. So for insert into table, unlike in traditional databases, we have to use table keyword here. Insert into table, the table name is orders, okay, and then you have to say partition order month, because the table is partitioned, and we have to say select O dot star, and orders have only 4 columns, and the 5th column is order month. The intention of creating order month is I want to partition data by month, okay, but order date in orders table have the complete date. So here I have to apply some transformation at row level. For each order date, I want to extract order month, and I want to use that to partition the table. So just using select star from orders is not good enough. We have to get all the columns from the orders table, and then we have to apply the transformation to extract the month from the date. So before doing that, what I will do is, let's validate data in the orders table. So orders have the data, order stage. Okay, so the way you can review the data is by running select star from order stage limit 10, and you can see the data. So here I want to extract this one and use this to partition. So here I can say insert into table orders, okay, partition order month, we have to specify that, and then select star from orders underscore stage. Here we have to say O dot star to get all the columns from orders stage table, O dot star, and then apply the transformation using substring function. We will get into the functions while we actually explore the query. So these are called as user defined functions in Hive. So you can use these user defined functions that are available to apply many of the transformations. In this case, I want to apply the transformation on order date column, which stores this information, and from this I want to extract first character to 7th character, so 1,7, to get year and month, using which I want to partition the data. And here you have to specify the alias, otherwise it will fail. It is mandatory to specify the alias for these functions, especially while running insert into table commands, and hit enter. So it is complaining. It is complaining saying that dynamic partition strict mode requires at least one static partition column, which means that either you have to have all the partitions pre-created, or you have to enable the dynamic partition. So there are 2 parameters related to dynamic partition. One is hive.exec.dynamic.partition. So you can review that parameter by running set command here. It is set to true. Sometimes it will set to false. So first you have to validate that whether this is set to true or not. If it is set to true, if you want to create dynamic partition as the table is loaded, then you can use this command. You have to set the mode to non-strict. If you don't set the mode to non-strict, then it will not work. There is a concept of static part, at least one static partition. It is relevant only for the tables which have nested partitions. In this case, if we have to create dynamic partitions, we have to set it to non-strict. Then depending upon the transformation here, automatically data will be partitioned and subdirectories will be created for each partition. So that's the purpose of non-strict here. Or we have to pre-create all our partitions before loading the data. So I will show both. So the way you can create partitions is by using alter table command. Alter table, table name is orders, add partition, okay, order month equal to 2013-07, okay. So if you before running this command, if you look into that location by running dfs ls where the table is pointing to, it will be empty. After adding the partition, if we run the command describe formatted orders, and let's see what have happened in this location by running dfs-ls command. dfs-ls and hit enter. You can see when we use alter table add command, you can see a directory with the name, with the column name equal to the value which we have passed when we try to create partition by using add partition command here. Okay, so this is how the partitions can be created using alter table command, but it's not practical to create all the partitions and then run the command. It means you have to automate the process and it will take additional time to do this. That's where this Hive exec dynamic partition mode comes into picture. So set Hive exec dynamic partition mode equal to non-strict instead of strict. Okay, and now you don't need to worry about creating the partitions and then running the insert command. You can directly run the insert command which failed earlier. And hit enter. I have to give the alias to my order stage table. As I didn't give alias, it failed. It's a syntactical error. O and hit enter. Because I am specifying O dot star to get all the columns from orders table, and earlier I haven't specified the alias. That's why it failed. Now it will work. Okay. Now you can see that it has loaded data into many partitions, and now if you run this Hadoop dfs-ls command under orders, you can see there are many partitions here, and you can validate data. Select star from orders here. I should have given limit 10. This is a, I should not have done this, it will take forever. Control C, Control C, Control C, it's not killing. Come on. Okay, let it run. I will open another window and I will show. Start from orders, limit 100. Okay, you can see the data looks good, and you can see the fifth column here with order date. Now let's review the data from the HDFS by running dfs ls tail. Again I have to get the location. So the location is, sorry, dfs hyphen tail apps hive warehouse dgadiraju.db orders. So the partition name is order underscore month equal to 2013 hyphen 07 comma part, and hit enter. And actually we have to use the naming convention is little bit different. We have to use this one. Okay, dfs hyphen ls. Let us see this, whether I have anything in the directory. Yeah, there is a file. Okay, tail we could not use the patterns. We have to give the complete file name. That's why it failed earlier. Okay. Now when you tail, if you count the columns here, this is first column, this is second column which is order date, this is third column, this is fourth column which is order state. But you didn't see the data order month here. But when we query the data, it is showing five columns here. So from where this fifth column came? The fifth column came from the directory name. So using the directory name, so the partitioned values will be stored in the directory names themselves. Physically it will not be stored as part of the files which will store the data from the rest of the columns. Okay, so this is how data will be stored internally in HDFS, and these things are very, very important. Don't think that I am you might feel it's overwhelming, but to troubleshoot the issues, these things are very, very important. Unless you know these internal details, it is very easy to make mistakes in Hive. Okay, and I realize all these things after 6 months or 1 year worth of effort on all these tools such as Scoop, Hive, etc. So it takes time if you start by yourself. Okay, so now we have got data from orders. We have got data into orders table, and now we have another table called order items, right? And if you say show create table order items, that is correct. You will not find the data physically in the files for the partitioned fields. But for bucketing, it is a different case. Only for partitioning, this is the case. So this is the table order items, and we have column called order months. And let's preview the data. Let's run the command describe on order item stage, which have the golden copy of our source. And if you see here, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 columns, and there is no order date at all in this. So we cannot. Okay, this is the one which I have added. What? It should not have this order item order date. Let's review in the MySQL database. Okay, MySQL. ITversity, use the retail underscore DB, show tables, describe order items. So if you see, it has only 6 columns, but here we have 7 columns. So I accidentally included order date also, and we have loaded data as well into this table using load command. Hence, if I run select star from order items stage limit 100 and hit enter, you see data null value as part of the last column, and you see something else as part of the order date. So you have to be extremely careful while performing these tasks. So for this purpose, what we have to do is order table, order items, stage. Okay, and remove this additional field we have. So I am explaining how to apply transformations while loading the data into other tables where the tables will have the processed data. Okay, hit enter. Now the order item stage is created without order item order date, and now I have to use the load command. I will type it: load data in path, local in path, cd scoop underscore import cd order items. So this is the path from which we want to copy the data. So copy that path, in single quotes you can say this, into table orders order items stage. Okay, now the data is loaded. First let us validate that it is represented correctly by previewing the data using select star from command, and now it looks good. So now this table have only 6 columns, whereas order items have 7 plus 1, 7 columns including order item, order date and a partition column. To load data into this table, again first we have to we will run the command insert into table order items partition column. We have to specify this. What is the partition column name? Order month itself, order month. We have to give the exact name here. Then select OI dot star comma O dot. So we have to join both the tables to get the order date, because order date is in orders table. So here O dot order date comma 127. Okay, from orders O join order items OI, order item stage here. Okay, here we will say order stage, or we can even say orders, there is no harm in that. Okay, so these two tables have to be joined on a join key. For that we have to say on. So OI have a field called order item order ID. I will explain the data model again later. For now, just understand that if you have to join the data and load into perform the transformations and load into another table, this is the way to go. Don't worry if you don't understand these joins in detail, because most of the people are freshers here. So for them I will explain joins little bit in detail, not complete detail but little bit in detail when we talk about SQL as part of the next class. We will not be able to cover SQL as part of this class. O dot order ID. Okay, so the order ID is the primary key in orders table. Order item order ID is the foreign key for order ID in orders table. So this we have to use the similar column, the column which will store the same data in both the tables to join so that we can get the correct results, and hit enter. It will fail because dynamic execute Hive execute dynamic partition mode is strict, so we have to replace that to non-strict, and then still it is failing because the table ins clause has 8 columns but the query has 7 columns, because order items does not have the order date. That's why it is failing. So I will use the Sublime Text again here to fix the issue. Okay, here we cannot use the OI dot star. Instead, we have to get all the columns from order items, which are these ones. Okay, order item ID, O dot order item ID, O dot order item order ID. So this should be OI. OI dot order item ID, OI dot order item order ID. And order date is not in order items table, it is in orders table. So here we have to get order date from orders table. Okay. And then order item product ID, order item quantity, order items subtotal, and then we have to get order item product price. For all these things I have to specify the prefix. Prefix is not mandatory because the column names are different between the two tables. Sometimes when the column names are same in both the tables, you have to use the prefix for sure. But here these prefixes are not mandatory. Still it might not work. Yeah, it is working. Okay. Now it is joining orders and order items and getting the data from the joined data set and loading into the our target order items table, which is partitioned, and also have the order item order date to preserve the order date in the data set. So now the table is loaded. First thing you need to do is select star from order items, limit 10. It will preview the data and everything looks good. This is order item order ID which is unique. Sorry, this is order item ID which is the primary key in the table. This is order item order ID which is foreign key to the orders table. This is the order date which we got from the orders table. This is some other column, and these are the total amount or price and total values, and this is the order month. So we joined both orders and order items, and then we loaded into this partitioned order items table. Okay, so this is how you can use load and insert. And one more thing you need to understand is when we perform insert command, it is submitting the MapReduce job. Okay, but when we actually use load command, where is the load command? So when we submit when we give load command like this, yeah. So we have loaded data from local file system from order items directory into order item stage, right? If you see, it just finished within a moment, and you don't see any output related to MapReduce. So load command does not use MapReduce, whereas insert command does use MapReduce. That is the first major difference. So what is the impact of it? So if you want to use load command into a partition table, it will not work because it is not using any transformations. So when we should use load command? If the data we receive from the source system is already processed as per your partition or table structure, then you can use the load command. Like the way we loaded into the stage table, because in the source file system, in the source MySQL database from where the file is generated, have 4 columns, and here also we have 4 columns. And while using Scoop or whatever processing tool we use, we have changed the delimiter to pipe in the incoming data, and we have created the table with pipe in Hive. So the structure of the data which we got and the table structure which we define are inconsistent. Even the file system is text file format. We are trying to use text files only. So using all the, if you compare this information, both are exactly intact. Means the table can accept the data directly. In those scenarios where the table can accept data directly without any additional transformations, we should use load command. Okay, and as we can use MapReduce to process the data, and if you have to apply any transformations on the data, then we have to use insert command while loading data into the table. Okay, so this is the major difference between load command and insert command. Load command does not use MapReduce, insert command does use MapReduce, which means that data that is being loaded by using load command has to be pre-processed, whereas as part of the insert command we can apply the transformation rules to process the data before loading into the final table. Okay, and here we have been running insert command using insert into table. Okay, in some cases we want to overwrite. You can just say insert overwrite into table. Instead of insert into table, you can say insert insert overwrite into table. In that case, whatever data that is already existing will be deleted and will be replaced with the data which will be generated with the select query. Similarly, is the case with the load command. Okay, here load data in path. So if you want to overwrite this table departments with the new data, you can say overwrite into table here. So overwrite will overwrite the existing table, into will append by creating new files in the existing table. So you need to understand that overwrite also. But when it comes to difference between load and insert, the major difference is MapReduce, and you should be able to convey what will be the impact of that. Okay, even in the interview process or wherever you face this question, what is the difference between load command and insert command, you should not just say that it's MapReduce. You have to explain what will be the impact because of the difference of having MapReduce with insert command but not having MapReduce with load command. And also you can say that load command is relatively faster when the data is pre-processed, as it directly copies the data, whereas as insert command uses MapReduce to transform the data on the dataset which is already pre-processed. Insert command will be slow. That is another difference which you can highlight. Okay, so that's about load and insert, very important, because these are the only tools which you can use to load the data. So I will come back to that question, Avro and Parquet, Chandrasekhar. So before getting into that, one more thing you need to keep in mind. I forgot. Let me recollect. Yeah, that's fine. I will explain it later. So make sure you clearly understand the difference between load and insert command. Yeah, transactions. So in traditional databases, typically you perform insert command by inserting one row at a time. For example, like this: create table t I int and hit enter, and then you can actually say insert into table name. In this case, we have to give table name t values 1. This is very common in traditional RDBMSs. In Hive, this type of operations were not supported earlier, but now they are trying to support these things. But if you see, to insert one record, it's taking forever, and there are so many restrictions around it. So this is not typical practice to insert data directly using this kind of operations the way you typically do in traditional databases. Either you will use load command or the insert into select command to load the data into the Hive tables. And to use insert into select tables, select command, the table which is being selected also should be there. You can only select from the existing table. So the data which you are trying to select to process has to be there in a table in Hive, then only it will work. So first you need to load data to stage database. From there you can use insert command to fetch and apply transformations and load into the target table. So now let me take the questions. Are you also going to cover Avro or Parquet format? So it's very straightforward. I will try to demonstrate real quick. Don't worry too much about what these file formats are. Okay, Avro, typically in data warehousing, we use Parquet or ORC because they are columnar formats. Columnar formats are very popular in data warehousing databases such as Greenplum, Vertica, etc. They have columnar storage. So if you want to create your tables using columnar storage, then you have to use file formats such as Parquet or ORC. Okay, for certification purpose, Avro is important, but when you are working on data warehouse type of use cases in Hadoop, Parquet and ORC are important. Okay, so here when you try to create the table using a particular file format, you just have to say stored as the file format. Whatever format you want to give, you have to give, whether it is Parquet file or Avro or ORC, all are supported as part of Hive. You can see those things here. So you just have to specify that, and then you have to select from the table and load into that. The transformation will happen automatically and will load data with the format you are looking for. And again, if you want to get into all the steps that are involved, I have demonstrated using Avro in my videos. You just go to YouTube channel for that. And here there is a search for Avro. So there is a video for create a table in the Hive Metastore using Avro. So you have to relate the metadata to actually create the table, and all those steps are created. All those steps are explained in detail in this video. So watch that video and you will be able to understand. So let me copy this one here and paste it. Okay, so this is the video. And another question, will MapReduce be invoked even when insert command doesn't make any transformation, like simple select statement? That is right. When you run insert command with select, it will run MapReduce. There might be some exceptions. Let me try one thing. So insert, let me create. Yeah, actually it will do the transformation, because it has to, for example, right, let me create a table. Let me demonstrate real quick. So let me create another table. The structure is almost same, stage _01. So in this case, structure is exactly same between the table which is created earlier and the table that is being created now, order item stage, and only name is different. It's exactly same, and hit enter. Okay, so now you have similar tables. If you want to copy into this, you can use the load command. There is no point in using insert command. When you will try to use insert command, at least you should be able to, you want to change the file format, even though the columns and all are same, you might want to change the file format, or you might want to change the delimiter. So whenever you want to make some change, then only you should use select star from, insert into command. If the structures are same, then you always can use load command. Okay. Now if I try to, everything is same, right? So now I am trying to insert into this table. Select star from order items stage and hit enter. See, it is running MapReduce because it does not know whether you are trying to do any transformation or not. It will assume that you are trying to do transformation when you try to insert into a table using select command. If you create this table with same structure, you can use load command because data is already processed and stored in the source table. That will be the efficient way of loading the data. No, you cannot, again, if you have to select the individual columns, it's a transformation. So you cannot use So anything there is a change in the data, you will not be able to use load command for that. Load command has to exactly match the table structure. Sorry, load command should have same structure between the data and the structure that is defined while creating the table. So Mohan have asked one more question. ORC or Parquet, which file format is most stable in production environments? So ORC is pushed by Hortonworks. Hortonworks try to emphasize a lot on ORC. Parquet is from Facebook. It is little bit new compared to ORC. RC, ORC are the ones which come from the open source earlier, and Parquet was made open source by Facebook a little bit late. So both are almost same. I don't think there is much of a difference. But when it comes to Hortonworks, you should prefer ORC because you will get you will get the support from Hortonworks. If you use Parquet, you might not get the support. So it's not just the performance. You need to understand the other attributes also before deciding the input format. Similarly, Cloudera pushes a lot for Avro. Okay, whereas Hortonworks pushes for ORC. Avro is not a columnar format. If you want to use a columnar format in Cloudera, probably it might be better to go with Parquet because ORC is supported by its competitor. Cloudera might be reluctant to support this, and it might push you towards Parquet. So there will be this kind of politics also which you need to understand before making the final call. It need not be the case. People use Parquet also quite extensively because it is successfully implemented in Facebook. So both are equally used, but with Hortonworks, ORC is more prominent. So any other question? I can take a couple of more questions before wrapping up today. Okay, so what we will do is next class we will just define a problem statement and try to write a little bit of complex query to cover SQL very quickly in Hive, and then we will start talking about Spark. So make sure you join from next class because I will be starting on Spark from next class. Generic question: why Mapr is not that much you are covering? So Mapr is licensed, and very few people use Mapr, and most of these concepts can be used in Mapr also, like Hive. Most of these things can be used in Mapr also. But when it comes to internals, how the data is being stored is the major difference between Mapr and other distributions. And I am trying to provide. I'm trying to be vendor agnostic in such a way that at the same time I'm not trying to cover all the features provided by different vendors. Whatever is generally prominent, I'm trying to cover those things. But all these concepts, Hive, Spark, everything else we are talking about is applicable in Mapr also. Okay, only thing that is different between Mapr and Cloudera or Hortonworks is Mapr uses its own file system, whereas Cloudera and Hortonworks uses Hadoop distributed file system. Mapr uses a file system which is developed using C, whereas HDFS is developed using Java. That's the only difference. Rest of the stuff is same. Yes, Gopi, you can call me after the class, but after 15 minutes or so. So Keshav is asking, in real-time projects, how are dev and production environments separated? Do they run on different clusters? That is right. So dev and production will be separated. It is so Venkat's question is, our training is relevant to which distribution, Cloudera or HDP? It's a vendor agnostic training, but I am emphasizing on Cloudera or Hortonworks so that you also feel little bit vendor agnostic. If I just talk on Cloudera or Hortonworks, you feel that you are learning only Cloudera or HDP. We are actually learning the open source tools. Cloudera or HDP is only relevant from the monitoring perspective and support perspective. For the development perspective, It's all about the individual tools which are incubated in Apache and which are provided as part of the Cloudera Hortonworks distribution. Don't think from Cloudera or HDP perspective. Think from the individual tools perspective. At the end, you can claim that you have experience in both, just to get some traction from the screening process at the time of the recruitment process, and also at the time of making proposals for the clients. Chandrasekhar is asking question, can I do insert into as select star from compressor table? Yes, absolutely, you can do that. Balram is asking a question, please don't ask questions in private, especially the things which are important to everyone. Make them to everyone. Anyway, I will be responding to this. I will be reading the question in detail. So Balram is asking, could you quickly repeat how the data is stored when partitioned, taking the 2 examples in this session? Yes, definitely. So we have 2 tables, right? Describe, order, describe orders underscore stage, and describe orders itself. So orders is partition table, and order stage is a table similar to the source table, which have 4 columns. So here you can see order month is the column which is being used for the partition. Now, if you want to get the structure, describe formatted order stage and hit enter. And also Balram, as you are new, I am recording this video and I will be uploading this in YouTube, so you can actually review it later also, just for your information. Okay, so here we have this directory for order stage. Similarly, we have directory for orders. Now if we do dfs-ls in this location, I am copying the path dfs-ls and hit enter. You can see there are files directly. So if you look into this section, if there is D, here it is directory, otherwise it is file. So we have 4 files here, and these ones actually have the data in a text format with bypass delimiter. Similarly, if you look into orders and hit enter, you can see for each order month there is a directory. Okay, so this is the order month, and so this is the directory. And if you look into the pattern of the directory name, it has the partition column equal to partition value. So this 2013-07 partition, if we process data appropriately and load data using insert command, we'll have 2013 July data in it. Okay, so this is how it is internally represented. And now if you try to get into that subdirectory and hit enter, you can see there is a file. So this is the file name, and you can see here it is hyphen, which means it is a file, and this is one which will actually have the data. And if you look into the file, dfs-cat or tail is the better command here. Cat will try to cat everything. You can see there are 4 columns in this, which are the actual columns in the table, and the partition value for this partition is stored here as part of the directory name. So this is how data is represented in partition tables in Hive versus non-partition tables in Hive. I hope it answered your question. You can follow up if you have any question. So that being said, that's it for today. Thank you very much for joining the session, and see you on Monday's class. Bye.